Can you guys hear me? Is there anyone who's on the Zoom who can hear me? Yeah, okay. And now you can see the slides as well, correct? Sorry, this has to be here. Okay, there you go. Can't see it now. Okay, so where were we? Talking about intentions. Okay, so historically in the Islamic world, there was an art of learning how to cultivate your intention. You know, like how when we did the diploma course, every single morning we refresh our intention. And like in our school, every morning we will sit with the teachers, we read dua, we'll refresh our intention as well. Islamically, traditionally, part of the education of the human being was to learn how to perform, how to cultivate the right intentions. So Imam Ghazali, he quotes a pious Muslim called Sufyan al-Thawari, and he says that the early generations of Muslims learned how to perform intentions for actions in the same way that you learn how to perform the actions themselves. So it's not just about the action that you do, but it's very much about the intention that comes before the action. And I had something that I wanted to share. So Julien was talking about the will today. Okay. So for us, will in the Arabic is irada. And those of you who study Tawheed, you know that like irada is one of the 20 attributes of God, right? The irada is one of the attributes. Okay. So will, power or will is irada. Okay. So we all have our will that some of us can control our will. Some of us can't control our will. We all have our willpower. And then the will lead us into intention. And intention in Arabic is niyyah. And Ustaz is the best one to talk about niyyah. Nofal, can you call Ustaz? Because he was going to add something on and I don't know where he's gone. Can you call Ustaz? So the will lead us to an intention. So you want to do something, your will is pulling you to do something. And then you might do it, you might not do it, right? Then there's an intention. There should be an intention there. But although a lot of us just act without intention now, right? There should be an intention that comes before the action. This is very simplified, okay? The journey of the human being on earth is to learn how to cultivate our will so that our will, instead of it being the bottom one, where it's just going off on a tangent, our will aligns to the will of Allah. This is basically what we're all trying to achieve. So this small child who has their will as well, in their journey of going through their stages of development, what is the child doing? They're learning how to control their will, not just control their will, they're learning how to follow their will in the right way, how to be, I use the word controlling, but there might be a better word to use, to control their will, how to align their will. They're learning, so then they're making choices, and they're making intentions, and then they're making choices, and then they're doing actions. Even if it's something simple like,
this is here in the board. It's becoming alive.
Oh, they can't hear you.
It's really what you shared about this drawing. It's becoming aligned with Allah's will, with our fitra, with our divine nature. It's all that we discussed previously.
And if you think about it, Allah's will is the will for everything that is created. So actually, like, his will is the will. Maybe I should make that arrow fatter. But his will is the will. And every single one of us has our own little will arrow, right? Every single human being who's living or has ever lived or will live on this earth has their will arrow. And our journey is about aligning our will to the will of Allah, so that we can then become aligned with Allah's will. That's what we're all trying to do. And the child is in their educational journey, whether it's a newborn or a toddler or a preschooler or an elementary or secondary child, whatever it may be. They are also in this journey of understanding themselves, understanding their own willpower, if connecting to their inner teacher, connecting to their fitra, so that they can come. Just 1 second, because if I lose this. Thank God we didn't lose the previous recording. Sorry. It's conspiracy theory. It always happens. You can ask them when we want to drop the bomb, something goes wrong. But we didn't lose that recording, which is good news. So basically, aligning our will. So the child is also aligning their will. But we have come so far, like we're another arrow that doesn't fit on this screen. Okay? Some of us are very far, some of us are closer. I know that I'm like off the screen, off the building, God knows where. And we need to align ourselves to come back to the will of Allah. That's what we're doing. So this child is given a willpower, and they're given the freedom of choice. They're given these boundaries. They're given all of these are things to help the child to align themselves to their fitra, to align themselves so that they can develop their will in line with the will of Allah. So, okay, so this is something that Esther spoke about this recently in one of the teachers' talks, right? So all of us human beings, the child is included, except for the very, very young children, we have different types of prompting that comes to us. They're called khatir, that on our journey of life in this dunya, we have these khatir that comes to us, these promptings. We have positive promptings and we have negative promptings. For the young child who's below the age of 2, 3, they don't have negative promptings. Okay, at some point, usually in elementary, these negative promptings will come around, right? Maybe a bit before that, they'll come around, and these promptings are, sorry? It's okay, as long as the voice is okay. So okay, we'll just keep going because otherwise we're not gonna, I don't know how to fix this. Okay. So we have these promptings. So there's 5 promptings. For adults, there's 5 promptings. For children, they don't have all 5, but as the journey goes along, so in elementary, they'll start to have some of them and so on. Okay? We have positive promptings and negative promptings. The positive promptings can come from Allah, ilham from Allah, from the angels, and from our higher self. Okay? The higher nafs. Because the nafs is not all bad. We have nafs al-amara, bisu, nafs al-lawama, nafs al-mutma'inna, nafs al-radiya, mardiya, and I mean, Ustaz can tell you in a minute when he comes. So we have all of these layers of our nafs, which is kind of ego, but not exactly ego, like what some of them are ego. We have all these levels of our nafs, okay? And the higher levels of ourself, they will give us positive promptings. So what's a positive prompting? Is something like what? Could be like what? So sometimes maybe you just think, for example, oh, she looks like she's carrying really heavy bags. Let me just help her. Where did that come from? That was just a prompting. It's not like a thought, but it's just something that prompted, let me just help her. Or for example, I feel like reading Quran. That's like a positive prompting. It could be from the angels. It could be from our higher self. It could be from Allah. The trick here is when you have a positive prompting, you should act straight away. Yes, so that it doesn't go. Because these are momentarily, like, you know, that thought that pops in your head and says, oh, I should read Quran today, or I should read Surah Al-Kahf, right? It's Friday, I should read Surah Al-Kahf. But then Before you know it, it's gone and you've forgotten about it and you didn't read Surah Al-Kahf, right? Yeah. So these positive promptings that come from Allah, the angels, or our higher self, as soon as those positive promptings come, we should react quickly and we should follow them. And the child, the young child, has, of course, we know they have the home, which is divine prompting. The home is divine prompting, which is guiding the child. That's from the divine, that's from Allah. And they also have prompting from the angels. And they also have prompting from their higher self. Okay, and we see it. Children are so quick to share, to care for each other, to help each other, to support each other. It's there in them. Even like, it's so funny. Even elementary kids can come to like a conflict resolution with this kind of thing. And then suddenly everything melts away. And within seconds, they're completely changed, right? Because they have this positive prompting. They have this higher self. And then we have the negative promptings, which is the shaitan and the lower self, which we all have as adults. And for the children along their journey, these will start to come in. And they need to know how to manage these. So when a negative prompting comes, yeah, like for example, have any of you ever had this thought, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to smash this thing. Like you're so angry, just smash it, like a negative prompt, right? But do you smash it? No. Or like, oh, I'm so frustrated with this person. You know what? I'm just going to block them. Yeah. And then that's like a negative prompting that just comes. It's like 1 second, right? We need to know how to control those. Right. As adults, we should know how to control them. Otherwise, we're just going to be impulsive. Right. We should know how to control it. Right. The child, when they start to get these negative promptings, they need to be in an environment that helps them to learn how to differentiate between their lower self and their higher self and be able to control their promptings. And please don't change the phone. Huh? Allah. Then you have to tell me to pause. Okay, change it then. Give me a second, let me change that. You have to test it as well. Testing, testing, testing. Because otherwise we're going to have like a cut in the video and then it will miss some important parts. And this one, just. Okay, let's get back to it. See, so much interruption. There must be something going on here, some negative. Okay, so the child, especially in elementary, they will start to have these negative promptings that will come around. And this is part of the fitrah, how Allah designed the human beings. And part of their inner discipline is that they learn or they become capable of managing through their inner discipline, managing all of these promptings that are coming to the child. Okay, so this is just a chart from Dr. Samir, he shows like another visual representation of it. So you have the child, or you have the human being in the center, and then you have the positive promptings at the top, and then you have the negative promptings at the bottom. And this is what we operate in. So the child is going from just having the promptings from Allah to gradually having all of these other promptings, and they need to know how to manage them so they can manage their will, and so they can put their will in line with Allah's will. So that means that before the will, there is prompting that also comes. So it's not just that we have a will. There is a prompting that comes before the will. This is from the Islamic perspective. Okay, and those promptings can be from 5. And then this is another chart. This is the detailed chart from Dr. Samir as well, that shows that you have prompting, and then you have will, and then you have determination, which is choice. Determination and objective is choice, and then the movement to the choice, which then leads to intention, and then it leads to action. Okay? All of those 5 ones before the line are something that happens internally inside us. So if discipline is external, how does it help your internal process, this process of the human being? If discipline is outer and is only dealing on the outer world, then you're only dealing with the action, but you're not dealing with the whole of this process in the human being that needs to develop. And I know some of you looked at you like, oh my God, we want to know more about this. I don't know all of this, but I have booked Dr. Samir in for a session. I think it's on the 22nd of August. I'll share it, where he will talk about this from the perspective of the child. But this is our Islamic heritage. This is our Islamic knowledge. So when Montessori talks about the will, we're like, wow, she really got to understand the child. She got to understand the human being. When she's talking about intention, when she's talking about all of these things, you see that Montessori is not just working on the child learning how to read and write, but it's really cultivating the child from the start of their journey till the end, so that they can become in control of their will, able to make the right intentions, and able, inshallah, later on as an adult to do those right actions. So it's actually going beyond the 3rd level of obedience. It's going beyond that. But we won't talk about that right now. And this is Dr. Samir's full chart. It's not actually his full chart. It comes from Abdullah Rothman. This is their full chart, which I don't know the whole thing. But basically, on this journey of development, this planes of development that we're going through, like I said, Allah is not judging us immediately. We're not being judged right away. We're not being held accountable right away. He's giving us opportunity to grow and develop every single part of ourselves in a constructive order, so that we can reach the higher level of ourself that we should be reaching. Okay? And we know the planes of development. We have 0 to 6. In 0 to 6, we know the child is developing their language, they're developing their movement, they're developing they're absorbing the culture, and they're adapting to their environment, and they're developing functional independence. So you can't do an action unless you are physically able to do the action. So before a child can be judged for an action, they have to be able to develop functional independence. Right. Then we have childhood from 6 to 12. There's another bit, but I don't know, it's not showing on here. But we have childhood from 6 to 12. So what's the child between 6 to 12, what are they trying to do? Elementary teachers. What are the key things that we said that they're working on? Moral development. Okay, so they're developing their morals. Because how can you make the right choice if you don't have a moral sense? So they're developing their moral compass of what's wrong, what's right, what's good, what's bad. They're not photocopying our one. They have to construct their own moral compass. Okay? They're also intellectual explorers. So they've already done the functional independence. So now they need to develop their intellectual independence. So they need to be able to think about things and understand things, so that they can intellectually make their choices as well, and intellectually have that part of it. Another part is they're very social, they have the herd instincts. So now it's not just about their own movement, language, adaptation, functional independence. Now it's about the rest. But no, it's not the whole of society. It's about their group, their herd, their family, right? So this is the time when the child should be learning about fiqh, right? Islamic studies, fiqh, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what does Allah want from us, and what does he want us to keep away from? This is the period in 6 to 12, because if we come back to this, they will have their prompting and they'll have their will, and then they need to make a choice, but you can't make a choice unless you have knowledge, right? So if I said to you, would you like purple or blue? but you don't have a concept in your mind of purple or blue. Like, Raja, can you tell us two things in Spanish? This or this? And then let us try and have a concept of that. Try to choose just two random things. Ask us like if we want it, maybe for food, or maybe it could be a choice for food. Can you make a choice? Okay. Like the rest of us, could we make a choice? We couldn't because we don't have knowledge, right? So in elementary stage, they are getting this intellectual knowledge about the world. So it's no longer just about functioning independent. It's about the world and what the world means, what is our role in the world? What are we supposed to do? What's right? What's wrong? What's the guidelines? What's the boundaries? They're getting that. If you don't have knowledge, like I had no clue, she's saying I couldn't make a choice because I didn't have knowledge, right? And that's why we also give them cosmic education, because they need to understand what this universe is. So if we want this child to go through this process and be able to put their will in line with Allah's will, make the right intentions and make the right actions, they have to go through each stage of development. They have to have the knowledge. They have to have all of that, the moral compass in 6 to 12, so that they can develop that into the next level, which is then the adolescence, where they are now connected to society. So now it's not just their actions in a classroom and at home, but it's also their actions as part of society and becoming the adult who they're going to be, who should technically, if they've had the right education, should be somebody who's then in the next plane able to take their place in society, right? So this inner discipline and this freedom and limits, it's all connected to this. We didn't go off on a tangent, right? You can see the connections, right? It's all connected to this, but you cannot achieve this unless the child is in an environment that allows them freedom within limits, so that they can be according to their fitra, and so that they can develop inner discipline, not the outer discipline, the inner discipline that will manifest later as outer discipline. Because it doesn't just stay inner, it becomes outer discipline as well, right? And that's it for now. That's as far as I got, and I think I need to stop because, yeah, no, I have to really stop now. And I will update you all about Dr. Samir's talk when we have it available. And Julien, you can join us as well. That one. You can add on some last bits.
Really have much to add, honestly speaking. I mean, it was a good additional layer. And I think we have revisited for your lecture many things we discussed during these 2 days already. And adding some additional perspective. I mean, I'm really happy, as I said, that we had this morning about the development of the will, because this is really key. The chart you've been sharing about the different stages. This one is really interesting. The chart you've been sharing. Didn't say it was yours. Maybe you should. So you can see, I mean, for me, it was really revealing when you mentioned that outer discipline. It's just not effective because it just considers the last stage and doesn't really consider all this. So this is why when you only do one traditional education focuses only on the outer discipline, actually it's not supportive at all about this other one, about helping the child to align more with Allah's will. It's of no help. This is what I mean. Not even considering it's good or bad. It's just related to our duty, which is to become more and more aligned with Allah's will. It just doesn't help because it's not addressing the right process. It just stays on the surface. While when we do all these different steps that we've been sharing all along, functional independence, intellectual independence, moral things, developing the capacity of intention, it's not perfect, but it's at least we know we are on the right way. Because we progressively support the capacity of a child to later on and progressively align more with Allah's will. So it's not an easy pathway, clearly, because we need to act indirectly instead of imposing our will. Okay? But it's a really promising one that would allow us, inshallah, to support our children. Thank you. This afternoon, I think it's time for a lunch break. Yes. We come back at 1:30 and the theoretical presentation is over. We just have a few reminders by the very beginning of the afternoon, something very quick. And most of the afternoon will be dedicating to build all together a partnership chart between a few reminders before we go into our main activity. So we were there. So all this we've discussed about the role of the error in the Montessori perspective, both yesterday and this morning. Okay, so I won't go back to that. I talk about what research says about that. These were a few tools you can use and you can be aware of about how to encourage, the difference between an encouragement that connects versus an encouragement that feeds the ego. Okay, so we won't go into that. It's been indirectly addressed during our discussions, but also supporting children through challenges. Okay, this is also a tool. And reframing the narrative through a constructive language about errors. Again, other tools that you can use, and we don't spend time on that because we've already discussed a lot. And surprisingly, Nuzaiba talked about that during her speech. Okay, delayed gratification, delayed rewards, delayed punishment, choosing what is difficult right versus easy wrong, building resilience, and the will to serve others. Okay, remember about the superior behaviors. So this is where we are. And a lovely, it's not supposed to be Islamic, but I assume you can see the echo with the Islamic practice. A little quote from Maria Montessori: "These little conquerors of themselves and of the world about them are real supermen who show us the divine worth of man's soul." So it's so surprising how much it's aligned with the Montessori, with the Islamic perspective. So it's not out of coincidence. It was a clear meaning that she expressed. So that's it. So as I said, this afternoon will be dedicated to some group work, because we've commented a lot about the fact that parents and educators need to work alongside, need to work both in the support of the child. And so we'll try to write a few things about that to be more concrete. So the idea is really to set up a chart that could be used for the collaboration between the school and the parents. So it's about this chart should include establish a common understanding about the child, So how do we consider the child? Then how do we create consistency? How do we set up communication protocols that serve the child? How do we share observations and insights about the child? And how do we support each other through challenging moments? So you see, if we are able to write things about all these 5 different topics, we would have a very powerful tool for the collaboration between the families and the school. Okay? Is the goal clear for everyone? So this chart should include those 5 topics. So let's start by group work. So you will all have the same topics. You work into groups, but you all address these 4 topics. Okay, and then we will share. Because for this, I don't want you to address different topics, because I would be afraid that we miss a few of them. While if we all address them, we can be sure that the risk of forgetting some is really very low. So there will be some repetitions between different groups, but that's okay. So once the first group has presented, the second one would say, okay, we saw that also, so no need to explain it again, but just move to the additional topics that were not mentioned before. Is it clear for everyone on Zoom? Is it okay for people? Can you please react in the chat? It's okay for you? Okay, no reaction, so I hope it's okay. So think about, so you address these 4 topics: the communication about the development of a child, about how to align home and school approaches, how do you support each other through challenges, and what would be your shared commitments for the child flourishing. Is it okay for everyone? I will keep that here, so you have that in mind. Okay, so let's go for 45 minutes, and then we discuss. Okay? They just think, they just discuss with between them, okay? And then we would give them the floor to express. It's a discussion that should address these 4 topics. No, you can just leave them. Okay, good for everyone. So we'll be back, 20 to 3. So you have time, but the topic is a large one. Okay, so take time to address all those 4 topics. Is it okay? Oh. Okay. Is it okay on Zoom? Can you hear me? Okay. So now we'll spend some time sharing. Unshare and share again? Okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. No, thank you. I still have some hot water. No, thank you. I'm good. Okay, so remember the goal is to eventually write a chart that would be shared between parents and the school. I'm not sure we can finalize it today, but we'll try our best. Okay, so it's if someone from the audience can take notes about everything that will be shared now. If you don't mind, because after I will send you back to group work to write the chart. Okay, so now we are just sharing, discussing when we need to discuss. Okay, so it's really open for discussion. This is what I mean. It's a few of you would comment from what you've been discussing in your groups. Okay, and feel free, I will ask some questions, of course, but feel free also to ask questions or to say like you don't necessarily agree or etc. This is all okay. We are trying to make a synthesis and at the same time to build a consensus about all that. Is it clear for everyone? And so then when we've reached that, you will go back to the groups and try to write, to phrase that. Okay, so who would like to start?
Sister Sarah, come on.
For communication,
Sarah, come on, Sarah.
for communication,
I'll give someone else a chance.
we could have regular parent-teacher interviews about the child where we share observations with each other. There is open communication, but within boundaries of how often that's happening or how it's taking place or where it's taking place. That's what else did we say about communication?
I think we had a very interesting lecture from Zeba this morning about that.
Yeah.
And about Islam, and about the Quran. Freedom with useful and relevant boundaries. But inside those boundaries, just to prevent from going into excess, there is freedom. I think it's a nice template. Something like that. Okay, yeah, that's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So regular communication through meetings and space for discussion. I could suggest maybe not to stay in only one format. You need to have good communication, but about what's happening. So it may be relevant to have also some moments where parents could come and observe what's happening in the classroom. And if this is doable related to the culture in Malaysia, that maybe the guides go and visit the child's environment at home. Oh, this is challenging. Huh? I'm just sharing that depending on the culture, because there are some countries where it's practiced.
Yes.
It really happens regularly. Like every year, the guide would come, but it has to be very well prepared, because as a parent, you don't want to welcome someone in your house, but would tell you that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is bad. Okay? So you need first to develop a culture which is non-judgmental, but which is really supportive.
But Julien, the thing is, see, 15, 20 years ago, I think that would be really, but.
You mean I'm too old, I'm obsolete? Your ideas are 15 years too late.
Nowadays, it's often really hard because the boundary between, like, we've even experienced many cases where the relationship between teachers and parents have, in fact, caused a lot of issues. You know what I mean? And so, like, I'll be honest, like, us at Relay, we want to protect our staff because we also know that a lot of parents, they don't have the same honor and respect and, like, values and maybe even have clarity about the boundaries, you understand what I mean? That they should have with staff. And then on the other side, there issues can arise when it's like that kind of familiarity happens, which is not ideal because actually it should be that parents value and value and respect on the staff and have like I'll tell you, like 20 years ago we would never have like a parent who would come and a small incident happens in the school and then they come and they're shouting and whatever it is. But this is something that happens very easily now. So like I'll be very honest, if there's anything that we would be concerned about, we would not put the staff there because we wouldn't want the staff to be the one who's facing it. We would want I would put them there or I would be there. But 20 years ago, it wasn't like that because even if there was an issue, there was a lot more, I would say, general etiquette and self-control. So now, those kind of policies that we had in England like 15 years ago, even we had policies like parents and teachers are not allowed to be friends on Facebook and they're not allowed to socialize outside of school. We had all of these things before. And I never really understood why. This is before. But now I can really see why society is just different. So yes, ideally we want to go to the child's home. And ideally we want to understand the child in their home setting. And we want to have that one connection. But on the flip side, it can actually be very dangerous. And we, as Rumi, we've seen that.
Again, I can fully understand about that. As I said, I think I said it clearly, is if possible, if culturally speaking, and culturally is large, so if it's acceptable and if it's relevant, okay? But still, with what you just shared, I think that you raised a deep issue, which is the goal, the perspective should really be to progressively rebuild or build a school culture that allows that. So it gives you a perspective. So now maybe it could be like optional for some parents that would volunteer. And of course it has to be organized with some rules, with some commitments, etc., you see? But it brings so much when you know about how a child's managed at home, and when parents, so that's maybe the most complicated, okay, but the fact that parents would come and observe regularly what's happening in the classroom, this is perfectly doable. This you can really organize it, and still it's an additional step compared to parent-teacher meetings, okay? Because it brings a lot, it builds this common ground, and it builds really real situations from where you can build. Because talking about, okay, my child doing that at home, your child is doing that in the classroom, but as long as you didn't observe, it's really difficult. But from the moment you know a bit better about how things happen in real life, through your own eyes, you can build a lot from that.
In Surrender, we do have like a really good, I would say, it's a good parent and school community and relationship. It's been that might have been. It was there are the moments when things happen and you don't really expect it. Sometimes it could be from the parents that you're close to not expecting, but it's kind of like it's just because they no longer see this, they no longer see like what the teacher has, the teacher, how it would have been like 20 years ago, they see it work. And then there's moments where things happen that should not happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
It's also got me thinking, we have this amazing parent community, which is lovely. But it's almost like the time that it's in, sometimes you have to be careful because otherwise the teachers are the ones that the teachers get harmed.
yeah, I fully, I mean, again, I'm certainly not saying that this should be organized just out of the blue without any preparation or whatever. I'm just saying this adds a lot to the relationship between the school and the parents. It really brings a lot in terms of shared knowledge about the child. So I suggest that this could become a perspective. And then you need to build the pathway, how to reach them. Because it's not like, okay, next year we'll organize a home visits. No. If you do that without any preparation, without any frame, of course, you tailor yourself for failure. While we want to tailor for success. So we need to create the conditions, and amongst these conditions is a prepared environment, this environment being the school culture. So this sense of community, etc. And of course, even in very supportive communities, there will always be some incidents. I mean, this is human being. We're just talking about. So it could happen, but no, but I mean, you have this image of what it was 15 years ago. But I'm talking about things happening now. Okay, I'm just coming from. I have this privilege to travel a lot. So what I'm sharing is what happens in some countries these days. Okay.
Maybe also like in the day culture. I'm gonna correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that like sometimes when the values are not clear, the values are out. It's almost like parents forget actually that's my child's teacher, and this child's teacher is responsible for 30 other kids. It's not just me. And then someone's in the medical thing. No, because everyone does everyone's entitled, but everyone is entitled, and unfortunately, the parents of don't need to do it.
You see, I mean, thank you. This is exactly what we're talking about. No, I mean, I'm serious. We are not living in an ideal world. We are living in reality. So what I'm sharing are some ideas, as I said, some perspective, some possibilities, and then there is the real world in which we are living. So I took the precaution to say if this is culturally relevant. If it's not at the moment, again, I said it could be a perspective, something to progressively build on, because it brings many positive aspects. But you don't want to sabotage yourself or to sabotage what you built already. Certainly not, just for the sake of what? Organizing visits at home. Certainly not. But it needs to be discussed. That's my whole point today. It needs to be discussed. How can we concretely collaborate? And it's not, I'm sorry, it's not enough to say we have parent-teacher meetings and that's it because we cannot do more. No.
I think the interesting thing would be to kind of have discussions with school like experts like yourself about what's the most effective way with, sorry to say it, Gen Z parents. What's the most effective way? Like how can they, and it's not meant in any bad way, but it's just, there is a sense.
You want to know the right way? So you organize home visits, but videotape on Instagram. Hi guys, is the teacher coming for visits?
Everyone sees going to schools something and they think they're an expert foundation and they think, for example, like all of this stuff. So I'll give you an example very specific. We had one incident in one of our elementary classrooms, and a parent left me this really long voice message and basically said to me, you know, why are the teachers doing this? They should do this and they should do that. You know, this person said do this and this person said do that. And why are they using this word like this? Why do they do this? Why do they do that? You know, the teacher should really know. You know, and it's like it's not even someone who's trying, and they're literally overriding teachers, overriding like years of experience, people who are trained, even our whole system. Even just said the word freedom should not be used, and we should never use the word freedom in Montessori, and it should change to something else. And I'm like, this is
Liberty?
It's like this is not something that we're just gonna, but this, unfortunately in this era, but it's very easy for people to watch things and there's too much information out there. And then a lot of these people, if they haven't worked for themselves and they have this strong sense of entitlement, then this becomes very challenging. Very challenging.
Thank you. This is a very good example. So what's missing in this situation?
Trust.
Thank you. Thank you. Exactly that. The missing point is trust. Okay? So I won't go, because this is not the purpose of today, I won't go into what is trust and how you can build trust. I'm just giving you a lovely reminder. This is one of the major topics we'll discuss during our leadership course during this fall. So if you want to register, you're happy. Welcome. I just teasing. No, but joke aside, trust has two components. And we have really many resources in Montessori about that. So two components. Trust comes from your competence. So people must see or think or understand that you have all the skills required. You are trained, okay? But there is a second one. The second one is trust in your intention. And this brings us back to this morning's topic. People need to know and to feel that you're acting the right way for their child. You're supporting their child. Okay? How do you, as a parent, how would you choose a school or a kindergarten? You would Google that, okay, and you would have a look at the credentials. So this is trust on the competences. But then you visit during a day or just any appointment. And if you don't feel the person, you don't feel like this person will be a good supporter for your child, despite all their credentials, you won't register your kid. So the initial trust is about my qualifications. But if you don't feel the good intention, you cannot really build the trust. So these are the two components. And then when you want to build what we call the bridge of trust, it's very hard to build and very easy to destroy. So very hard to build because you need to seize any opportunity to prove those two components. So sharing anecdotes that show to the parents the fact that you are competent, so you understand what's happening, and at the same time you show your good intention. So for a parent like this, typically, who would pretend to know, and obviously doesn't know anything, you need to prove your competence, your background, in terms of, sir, let me explain you what's at stake. really beyond your prejudices. And then you need to show that you have a good intention. So, oh, your child was doing that, blah, 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 blah. And so I support it this way. And then the parent would be progressively become more and more open-minded to collaboration. And wouldn't just project his own prejudices. Okay, because, I mean, we know so many parents behaving like that. But in this case, it's very easy to address these comments saying like, if you know everything about education, why don't you do homeschooling? Why did you came to us? Why did you come to us? What was the reason why you registered your child? There must be a reason. Okay? So it's very important to build progressively this common ground and to keep in mind that trust is not just given. It needs to be built. And it needs to be built through a school culture. So provide as many opportunities as you can to build this trust, to build this common ground, to share those values. And this is why I was sharing about observation in the classroom. This is under your control, so you can organize that. But you need to frame them. You need to organize that. There needs to be a protocol. It's not like only welcome, because if it's only welcome, yes, this is tailored for failure. It's not prepared. And in Montessori, we know we prepare our environments. Okay, so for the observation to happen, you need to prepare the environment. And the same for home visits. It doesn't happen just out of the blue. It needs to be prepared, and it needs to be tailored for the right moments when the community has grown up strong enough. With parents, you know, that wouldn't be judgmental. You need to be very self-disciplined when you're a teacher, when you're a guide visiting a family's home, and not giving like, no, this is not good. We don't do that in Montessori. Hmm? Do you understand what I say? I have 20 years of experience. When I was in London 20 years ago, it was not like this. No, she's too tired. She couldn't understand that. The joke.
It's just, I think for me, because I've seen all you're saying, you build the trust and you do all of it. You've done that.
Don't tell me there is a path after you build trust.
And you have the potential, and you have the experience, and you have the proof, and you have it. But
see, there is a path.
Post-COVID, I would just say post-COVID, and it's also about protection of the teachers and protection of the bigger vision of what we're doing and protection of other people's children. For me, I just see that there's a difference post-COVID. That's what I've seen mostly. There's a big difference post-COVID. So even if you're someone like I'm lucky, I have the credentials behind my name, and I have the experience, and I have this and I have that. Sometimes I wonder about people who don't have that.
Dear, did you listen to what I said? Competence, skills, diplomas, certificates. This is one of the two components.
Yeah, and then we have the sport. Right.
No, then you have the intention. Do parents feel that your intention towards your child is a good one? This is what you need to experience as a parent, because you may have the longest list of credentials. If parents don't feel your good intention, it's pointless.
So when all of that is covered,
yeah.
When all of that is covered, but
no, there is no but.
It's something we can get into after. But I do believe that we have to find, because this is what I believe, from based on, for me, I've seen there's a shift. So after this shift, I do feel like there's, I don't know what it is, I don't know that answer is, but I do feel that there's something more that we really need to do, because it's a different time. It's a different time now than it was before. That's what
yeah, I mean, for this, you're totally right. There has been a deep impact from COVID. But what's the impact of COVID? Just that suddenly people realized society was not a safe place. It was dangerous.
So many people, they just shift back to their closest ones. I know so many families all around the world that unschooled their kids for doing homeschooling because they didn't trust any longer the schools. Because they think their children could catch the COVID there. See, so it has provoked a huge and deep crisis for the trust regarding society. So people are just more, not so much open-minded. Yeah, I mean, if we want to achieve something, yeah,
everyone feels that. Yeah. You understand? Maybe it's also because of that. I do feel that there's a difference in parents. Like, not all parents, not with me. But I didn't feel that there's a difference.
It's not about you. Just feel okay, it's not about you. It's this other one close to you.
Sometimes something will happen, even amongst the parents, the other parents will be like, why are you acting like that? You can say the teachers are working so hard for the kids, like the teachers feel like, they're working good. Even amongst the parents, they'll meet some that will suddenly be like, what's going on? Like, why is it? You know what I mean? And that's the thing is, maybe this should be your administrative support.
Yeah.
We can look at how do we deal with this post-COVID influence.
Again, it has happened all around the world. It's not about Malaysia. There is a the level of mistrust into society has raised so much compared to what it was before. So this is why our efforts as Montessorians, because we know through our education, we know that trust is key for the support of the child. We know that. But if parents and the schools, they don't work together, it's not supportive to the child. So we need to double our efforts compared to what it was before the COVID. Yes. And we need to put so much more into that. That's the change. But the foundations haven't changed. I mean, we all know that we need to build the trust. It has become harder than what it was before. And so we need to really focus more on that, because now it's much more frequent, but some parents out of the blue just, I don't know, they become crazy suddenly. Yeah. Suddenly, out of nowhere, there is an event happening, and you don't understand where it comes from. Because most people, you needed to be very well aligned during COVID for surviving that. Have you an idea about the level of development of mental disease since COVID? Many people have become really sick, mentally sick from that. It's not so much about the COVID itself. It's about the lockdowns. Remember what I just shared about the way the brain works. What is freedom of movement? It's about survival. And suddenly you prevent people from their freedom of movement. So many people, they felt like, and since that time, there has been something wrong in their brain. See, I'm not saying like people are mad or crazy, but they've just been hurt deeply and much more than what we can think about, because this is a fundamental level. So since that time, many families, there's something wrong. Okay? And on the surface, on their day-to-day behavior, it's okay. But sometimes it's like something is not working. And when they would feel, for any reason, they would feel threatened. So suddenly, out of nowhere, they behave like, no, we escape. We need to leave. This is all wrong. Because for them, in their brain, there's something which is not working very well. And it's not their fault so much. It's about let's think about it very seriously. All this generation of students, of pupils, that have been deprived from school for what? How long was it in Malaysia? 1 year, 2 years?
Yes.
Do you think there's no impact for their future adult life? They got all traumatized. I'm sorry. I'm so furious at public authorities everywhere. They have provoked deep traumas in the young generations. And we haven't seen the full effect of it yet. I was a direct, like you, I was a direct witness of that with our middle school. Before COVID, let's say the level of maturity, any level of maturity, let's say, it was reached during grade 8. After COVID, the same level of responsibility, autonomy, etc., was reached at grade 9. Before and after COVID, we lost 1 year of maturity, which means that the responsibilities we could give to the students, the level of autonomy they had, etc. Before COVID, they were at the age of 13. After COVID, they reached that at the age of 14. So I've been a direct witness of it. And imagine for all the young generations, how do you learn how to speak when the adults, they wear a mask for 2 years? Do you think it has no impact? It's very bad what happened. This is why we need not to blame these parents, but just to acknowledge that there has been such a deep event, and we need to double our efforts, not to be back to what it was before, because that's not the purpose, but to make sure that we rebuild as much as we can these foundations that have been shaken by the COVID. While acknowledging that for some families, this shake has been really deep, and we don't know what they feel like. Honestly, I know some families from our middle school, suddenly they decided to homeschool their kids. And since that time, their kids haven't been back to school. Imagine the trauma for these families. Suddenly, you don't trust any longer. It's just a small family. This is the only safe place. All outside, it's dangerous. Can you imagine the psychological impact on the adolescents about that? You cannot trust anyone. Everything is dangerous out. Sure, they become paranoid. So, rebuilding this bridge of trust is more than ever necessary. And of course, we shouldn't be naive about that. And yes, times have changed. I fully agree with that. And maybe because of COVID. It's not only about the Instagram generation. No? This is just a small thing. But there has been a deep impact. But it's not our reaction as Montessorians. Shouldn't be like, oh no, we can't do that any longer. No, it's the opposite. What can we do? How can we strengthen our efforts to make sure that in our little community there is trust? And when there could be some surges of mistrust from time to time, because there have been some traumas here and there. How do we address them? Because we know, because we have observed, we are not blind to the world. We are not into our Montessorian dream. We know that we will need to address these surges of panic, anxiety. So how do we deal with that?
And maybe we need to build an additional curriculum for the teachers. I mean, not necessarily 200 hours, but something how to deal with this anxiety crisis amongst parents. Because yes, this is happening, and again, it's all around the world, the same. But I'm proud to be part of these small islands of resistance. Because my deep conviction is it's not healthy. It's not for me. The quote is not from me. It's not healthy to be adapted to a sick society. So I'm proud not to be adapted to this sick society and to consider myself as a resistant somehow. I don't cope with this paranoia happening everywhere. I don't agree with that. And yes, some people could consider I'm naive. Yeah, okay, I'm okay with this label. I still have trust in mankind. But I'm not completely naive because I know that, yeah, there have been some traumas here and there, and for most people, it's difficult. It's difficult to regain the trust that you have lost because your brain, this first layer of survival, has been damaged. Not because of the COVID, because of the lockdown. Because freedom of movement is your key to survival. So suddenly, you find yourself in your primal brain, your instinct tells you, I'm into panic, I become anxious, because if there's something happening, I cannot escape. I'm stuck, I'm trapped. You see the level of panic? I'm in a cage. Okay, so deal with that with your intellect. You can still try to rationalize, yes. But you cannot prevent that from time to time, this deep anxiety surfaces back. And this is why there are some unexpected events happening. So we've got a bit off the topic, but I think it's important to have this background in mind because the COVID has damaged so many things. The COVID crisis, not the COVID itself actually, but the COVID crisis and the way governments addressed it has damaged so much. And we need to be aware of that so we can dedicate and address properly address properly our efforts into building this trust with these new conditions. You need to keep in mind that now, at any time, any family could flee without warning. Okay? And of course, as they don't accept that, because it's too painful, you know what, I mean, this is basic psychology. When you face a situation which is a deep source of anxiety for you, you don't want to look inside because it's too painful. So what would you do? You would blame someone. So the way this anxiety crisis for parents, when they feel suddenly into panic, the way they show it is not suddenly, I'm afraid. No, it's suddenly, the school is all wrong. What was all right the week before suddenly becomes all wrong. I'm blaming the school because I want to escape and I cannot accept that it's deeply inside of me that something is wrong. So I'm blaming the school. So suddenly, out of the blue, the school is all wrong, doing all wrong. And you're just like, come on, next week everything was okay. Last week everything was okay. What's happening?
Does it refer to some situations?
Stop. Like I was saying to even like I really want to know how, because the parents we talk as well.
Yeah.
How can we have normalized parents? And it's like you just said, you know, it's deeper than
I mean, I'm a bit pessimistic about that. I deeply think we cannot.
help.
You cannot fix the trauma. You cannot fix this
Not
trauma.
necessarily things, but just enough so that the child gets the best.
Yes, exactly. But this is why we need to strengthen and to double our efforts into building this trust again. But you need to be aware that you cannot really fix their trauma. And so still at any time, I mean, not necessarily all families, but for some families at any time, an anxiety crisis could happen. And this anxiety crisis would manifest as a blame for all the school. That's it. And okay, that's it. And this is the new era in which we are. So it's not a very nice one.
It's just undoable.
Yes.
We just have to think about
Yeah,
it.
sure. I assume there could be many questions.
I do agree that the more we connect, the more we trust, and the more we communicate, we can connect more as well. Just like we connect with the children, we should connect to the parents.
Exactly.
If the opportunity does arise and I am invited for a home visit, can you just give a rough framework of what that is? Because at school, observation looks different.
Yes.
Am I interacting? Am I going over for a meal? What does that look like?
So basically the rule for observation is the same, which means when you observe the daily environment of the child at home, you don't want to project your own prejudices. So you certainly don't want to lecture them. This would be the worst thing to do. Okay? But you have your own knowledge and experience, so you would take notes. Maybe a few bits, if it's possible, but don't force that. If parents, they could be very attached to their privacy. So if they have already allowed you to come, that's enough. Okay? Don't force to take pics at all. But if you're okay, of course, you can take some. Okay? But this would just help a debrief discussion. So you just observe, you take notes, and then you have a debriefing discussion with the parents where you ask about the non-physical aspects of the prepared environments. So what about the routines at home? What about the daily schedule? Okay. And then, so that's the first part of the conversation, just to get all the information. And then either that time or on another time, and I recommend that it would be on another meeting, not to have too much. You can discuss, you can debrief about that, and try to share with them how do you address the child's needs at school, and how they could implement a few things at home. Just out of questions. See. We know it's important to do that for the child. So at school, we do it this way. Do you have any idea about how you could implement that at home? Open question. And there is nothing like the perfect Montessori recipe. Because it's home, it's not the school. And you certainly don't want to duplicate school at home. This is another big mistake.
I'm not sitting in a chair, or am I having tea with them, or
Yeah, sure.
am I sitting on a chair on one side and just letting them be?
Okay, I see your question. No, this is why I recommend that you just give a courtesy visit. So you have a paper and you take notes, but it's just you visit, you analyze, you take notes about the physical environment, and you can ask questions like, is there a shelf for the child, maybe for setting up the table? Is there some materials that I don't see because you wouldn't allow yourself just to open, close it. Oh, I want to see where the child's material is. Oh, it's your personal belongings, sorry. Okay, and then you have this discussion about the non-physical aspects. So this could be, yes, around tea. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Make it as comfortable as possible. If they prefer coffee, it's okay. I mean, you see, it's just what you need to demonstrate is I'm a teacher, you're the parents, but we both support the child. So we need to share information. It's about sharing information about the child so we can work and walk alongside in support of the child. So I'm not the one knowing and you don't know anything. We just share. And we have ideas because yes, I come with my experience, my expertise, but again, my intention is not to lecture. My intention is to share this experience with you and to see what could be doable. And please, if you have specific challenges, I don't know, evening routines, going to bed, please share. I need to understand that. Just that, and you can just share anecdotes about what's happening at school with the child. You see, I mean, just make it as friendly as possible. But you take notes. This is the biggest challenge. Manage a friendly conversation while taking notes professionally. Got it? And then later on, like 1 week after, 2 weeks after, not 1 year after, of course, you have a real debriefing session saying like, okay, we had this lovely discussion. So I've had a few ideas which I'd like to share with you. See? So again, I bring my experience, my credentials, but I bring my good intention. I've had ideas I'd like to share with you. So it's not even yet recommendations or advice, just ideas I want to share. Yeah, okay, so let's discuss. So you expressed that the morning routine was a bit difficult, etc., etc. I've taken the time to observe your child during our own routines at school, our own morning routines at school. At school is doing well. So maybe we can try to discuss why it's more difficult at home, while at school it's going well. Or the opposite. You said it was a bit difficult, your morning routine. I can tell you, yes, I've observed more because you attracted my attention to that. So I observed more at school. And yes, actually, it's the same at school. It's really difficult. So what do we do together? And you just progressively build the conversation brick after brick. And it doesn't need to be perfect. Just, again, if you do that every year with the child, it would be so good. But I really share what Nuseba said. This exercise, this activity of home visits cannot be the start of the process of building the trust. You need to have already a strong trust built for parents to accept you in their house, in their environment, and for you to behave in a proper way so you wouldn't appear like the one lecturing. So you need to work on yourself also. Because when you're an experienced Montessori teacher, it's so easy when you visit homes to see all that is not working. Okay? You can make a list in 5 minutes. No. And then you say, it's very bad. If I give you a grade, 2. F.
What if they ask you there and then, like, what should we do about this? Like, should we just like, for example, a parent have asked me like, does my child wash his hands at school? I say, yeah, of course, whenever there's anything to go. But the more we talk, she was like, oh, she didn't even realize her child cannot reach the sink,
What do you mean?
like for washing hands.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he said he always have his hands dirty. So he doesn't like to wash his hands and whatnot. But the more we talk about it, it turns out.
So
he don't have-
yeah, thank you. This is a very good example. This is an easy one to deal with in the conversation. So you say, in this case, oh yeah, it's because at school we have a prepared thing. So you can build that, you can buy that at IKEA. It's very easy, it's cheap.
They didn't even realize that.
Yeah, exactly. They don't realize this would be the easiest part of the conversation because these are easy topics and you want to build it the smoothest way. So start by easy things. Don't go into like you need to change everything. Small things. At school, he's able to wash his hands and to keep his hands clean. You're telling me that at home it's more complicated. I thought this is why the 2 period is important.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't react just out of like this. So they would feel a bit, they would find you a bit arrogant.
You are the one bus.
Yeah. So I thought I've really made up my mind about what we discussed before. And I've just realized that, yes, if your child is washing his hands at school, it's because we have this little chair. So he's able to climb and to reach the sink. And I've explored a bit on the web. There are a few easy materials you could buy from IKEA. Then the parent would be very happy about that. Because you're bringing solutions and not lecturing. See? And if the result, more than that, if the result of that year's meeting is just like 3 small things at home, it's okay. Because it's still 3 bricks in the bridge of trust. So don't have too high expectations. Just build the bridge of trust brick after brick. What matters is when something really bad happens, the trust is there, so the parent would come to you. You see? That's the most important. It's the trust itself, it's the journey itself. It's not so much the result. Okay? So we have diverted so much. Oh my gosh. So I don't think we will complete that today, but I will leave it to you later. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. Such a school principal, my gosh. No, I know. I agree. But I'm just on the child side. Okay, so I mean, at least we've had a discussion about on the topic of communication. See? So you see that communication must have a purpose. It's not about communication for the sake of communication. Okay, it's about building this trust. So I think we've talked a little bit about aligning home and school approaches. Okay, but I assume that maybe from some groups you could have more to share about that. What would you like to share? Yeah, sure, please. It's getting more difficult because everyone feels hot. And so,
Yeah, I guess we'll just repeat it again.
yeah, it's okay.
And our discussion, we spoke about how parents and the guides are not a separate entity when it comes to guiding their child.
Yes,
Thank you.
We are both carrying the same mission of guiding and educating the child so that communicating the child's development is the most relevant and logical thing to do between home and school. We also discussed on transparent classroom, which is the medium we use.
Okay, yeah.
With updating the child's progress and the activities they do through pictures, which helpful because we have parents in our group. They said when they see the picture, they know what to do at home.
Oh, how is that? What would you know from seeing a picture from transparent classroom?
Certain activities, not all.
Okay.
Like cleaning,
So it's
mainly in the preschool.
Okay, what you see is that the pictures they get from transparent classroom are inspirational to them for doing things at home.
Yeah,
Okay,
mainly
got it.
in the practical life area.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Pouring,
Makes sense, yes.
cleaning.
See?
And the only cons is that pictures does not communicate the actual situation
Yes.
because sometimes it's just a picture.
I hope you don't fake pictures.
Yeah,
I've seen that in so many schools. But there is an activity on the table, and one guide is there to take pictures, and they would bring the child to the table for the child to do the activity, just to take the picture.
That happened.
That happened in rooming?
I don't know.
I had some anxiety attack. Yeah, this happened. Yeah, you cannot imagine how frequently that happens. So many Montessori schools, these ones we call Monte something. They think their common trait is that they consider they are not mature in their spiritual preparation of the adult, and so they sacralize the materials. They think Montessori is all about the activities and the materials. It's not about the child. It's about the child doing something with the materials. So yeah, they would prepare an activity on the table, on a low table, and then there is one taking pictures or videos, and the children are just queuing for doing the activity. And they take pictures and they share that with the parents. So look at this wonderful Montessori activity your child has been doing this week at our school. Yeah. I've seen that. I won't mention the schools, but I could mention I've seen that 7, 8 times. So yeah, it happens everywhere. Yeah. And as a trainer, as a consultant, I would tell them, no, it has to be a spontaneous activity. So it's good to share some pictures with the parents, but you don't build the activity for the pictures. We are here for the children, not for the pictures. Huh? Yeah. Are you Gen Z?
So much more information to the parent.
She's a kind of Gen Z apprentice. You remember freedom and discipline, one of the deviations is seeking for approval, seeking for validation from the adult. This is a deviated behavior. So if you, as an adult, encourage that, "Hey, you're such a bad teacher," because you encourage deviations, or you provoke deviations. Because the child is not working for himself any longer. Just getting for is working for the adult, for getting on the picture. Doesn't make sense.
And it brings focus. If you want to close and try to take a picture of a child, it brings them focus.
Of course, of course. It's all that, it's all that.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of like the child feeling like they're working for the sake of the adult instead of themselves. But if they haven't picked an activity and we give them a choice and they still feel like being or anything, then
what do you do?
Yeah, do we like narrow down the choice?
No, in this case, you would tell them, okay, let's choose an activity we will videotape you. You will become very famous. No, of course not. It's a joke. But yeah. You don't want to do anything? Oh, yeah, I know. It's become you want to be famous. Okay, let's organize that. No way. Don't forget that there are many ways to learn for a child. There is the work itself, and there is the observation. Yes. So for some children, observing is part of the work.
If they just want to stay next to their friend because their friend is doing work, that's considered observation.
If they observe,
They observe. If they're not.
that's considered observation if they observe. If they talk, it's not observation.
In elementary, they will talk.
Huh?
In elementary, they will talk.
Yeah, but what is observation or what is not observation? If it's just like I'm at the hairdresser's and I'm just gossiping, okay, this is not work. It's gossip. If I'm observing and maybe discussing about that while having a conversation, this is okay. This is where your job as a guide in your observation is key. And you need to really observe, like not project your prejudices, like they are talking, so it's not good. What are they talking about? If they are just relating their last weekend, no, this is gossiping. We don't want that. If it's, oh, how do you manage that, etc., etc., yes, this is good. We need to be precise. That's scientific observation in Montessori. It's not about, this traditional, these guys in Montessori, while you are doing observation. I see sometimes guys or assistants observing that way. Just saying, what are you doing? I'm sorry, this is not observation. Yeah, I'm having a look at everything that's happening in the classroom. Okay. So you're just what? Did you get your week? Maybe it would be useful. This is not observing. Do you mind if I share a video of 20 minutes about observation? Because I mean, we are out of the schedule for the talk in all cases.
The other thing is, I think that like some people have like general questions.
Yeah.
And the rules of this.
Okay.
It might be good to just have a question and answer.
Okay, so let's have a look at this video. It's called the 8 levels of observation. And you had already a workshop on observation. And just a reminder, that's how it looks like observing, okay? But I need some sounds. How do we do? It would be from the computer. So for Zoom, it will be okay, but for here.
Mics.
Yeah, a mic like this. We can try that? Okay. And for people on Zoom, so we will project this video now for 20 minutes. And after we have a final Q&A session. Okay, so if you have general questions about the workshop, please keep them for after.
Dutch Lady Milk brings 7 times more vitamin D than your usual breakfast.
I'm so hungry, I'm yearning.
Huh? Ah, Bluetooth? Okay, sure. So Bluetooth. Yes. Sorry? Yeah. No? Yeah. So I'm connected to GBO3. GBL Go 3. Yeah. Oh no, it's not. I don't. Okay, it's not connected. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't want to connect. It's here. It doesn't want to connect. I don't know why, but. Huh? Oh, okay. So we can connect from yours, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I'm just going to share a video.
So those of you on Zoom, we can't get the video played in a way that everyone can hear it together. So we'll send the link for the video. And then we're just going to do questions and answers, since it seems like there's quite a few people who have questions. So you're welcome to send your questions on the Zoom chat. And the audience here will ask some questions just so that we can finish off.
Okay. So, who would like to ask a question? We have a question from the youngest.
Okay, we have a question.
Yeah.
Gloria, do you want to ask a question?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for organizing this, Sister Nuseba, and Brother Julien, thank you so much. Your talks have been very inspirational. I have a few questions on my mind. I'm hoping you can clarify for me. So the first one is regarding the inner teacher that you keep referring to. I'm just wondering, at what age, until what age does the inner teacher stay with the child? Hello?
Until what age the inner teacher stays with the child?
Yes.
Forever, because what is this inner teacher? It's the fitra.
Well, that was my next question. In Islamic
But
terms,
as we shared previously, there is a big difference between childhood and adulthood. Remember, at the age around 12, so the beginning of adulthood, the child has learned how to build a true intention. So there is less need for this inner teacher, because the child, the young adult, becomes conscious about his connection to his own fitra. You see the difference?
yes. I didn't realize
So it's
the inner
like,
teacher.
I mean, if I dare to use the metaphor, it's like the absorbent mind. Once you have adapted to your environment, you gained your functional independence, you don't need any longer the absorbent mind. Because the next job would be to explore the universe. So the absorbent mind becomes useless. So the same for the inner teacher. When you're able to be conscious and to formulate intentions, true intentions, you're just ready. Is it clear for everyone? Clear for you on Zoom?
Thank you for the explanation. My understanding of fitra was something universal and the same for everyone. But listening to your talk today, when you were saying that when we allow children to explore, they will grow into their fitra, and everyone has a different fitra than I assume. So that's the point.
Yeah, we all share the same human nature, but we all have a different purpose on this planet.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And just another small question with regards to setting the limits.
Yeah.
Do they have to be worded in the negative, like you will not do this or you will not bully, or does it matter if it's in the affirmative or negative?
It really matters a lot, especially under the age of 6, because the brain doesn't understand the negative. This also is science. When you tell a little child not to do something, he understands to do something. And this is why negative doesn't work until, 6, 7 years old. Then, of course, they would understand. So after that, it's okay. But at the start, the most important is remember the absorbent mind. So if you want something not to happen, you need to model the right way. And this is what the child will absorb, because he's not able to absorb something that doesn't exist or that he shouldn't do. Just not able to do so.
Thank you.
So you need to model the positive.
Okay.
It's not worth talking about the negative.
Because in your examples, you were using all negative.
For example, if you don't want your child to go, I mean, I will take an example from my own. We don't want our child to go to one part of the garden, which is really full of small stones that are very sharp, so it could really hurt. So telling him not to go would just elicit him for going more. But you can say, this is danger. This is dangerous. And you can show him these little stones so he could feel that they are very sharp. So this is danger. And you show so he could understand that. But don't go to there. He really gets go to there. And so he will go more. You see the difference? Is it clear for the limits?
It is. Your answer actually leads into my last question with regards to what's the role of fear in terms of establishing limits for young children?
Fear, Fear, as I said, is one of the most primitive functions of the brain, is to ensure survival. So take care about not to overuse fear, because this would be very bad, because it would just bring some confusion into your child's mind. So fear and danger can be useful if they are real. Like, I mean, of course, it's contradictory to what I just said, but don't go there or don't do that. Of course, again, you would phrase it in a positive way, but I'm just talking to you now, to an adult. Don't do, because this is dangerous, but it has to be a real danger. Because if everything becomes dangerous, at a certain point, the child would still try, maybe out of coincidence one day, and will realize, no, it's not dangerous at all. So then it becomes all confused in his mind. So you can use fear, yes, when it's relevant. And another tip maybe, which is a bit hard sometimes. Everyone has a different perception about fear. What I could be very afraid of, maybe someone else wouldn't be. So also take care about that. It's not because you're especially afraid of something that it's really dangerous. If you're especially afraid of spiders, for example, the higher risk is that you share this fear with your child. Whilst most spiders are not dangerous at all. You see? Or if you're afraid of thunder during light storms. If every time there is thunder, you just jump and shout and cry and scream out of fear, for sure your child would absorb that. While it's not especially dangerous. I mean, as long as you're not under a tree. So think about that also. It's always good to know what are your true fears. I mean, yourself. What are you the most afraid of? And is this justified or just your own phobias? If it's just your own phobias, I would suggest that you work on them and you don't share them with your child. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Another question, Zoom? Yeah, sure.
Sarah, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, sure. Assalamualaikum. So Alhamdulillah, this is a question arising from our discussion about the parent and teacher, parent educator chart.
I'm sorry.
Is my voice clearer now?
Yeah, can you repeat it, please?
Okay, this is a question that arises from the parent and educator chart discussion that we had earlier.
Yeah.
And I fully recognize and acknowledge and truly appreciate all the hard work that the teacher does, the guide does at school. And I worry that, you know, sometimes as parents, when we're facing some challenges with child, I don't want to overburden the teachers.
Okay. Yeah. Very good question. So this brings us back to some strategy. We know that the goal is to share these values, this common ground, this support to the child. And we agree that a chart could be a useful tool. But then, yes, it requires additional work. So then it's a decision of the management of the school. It's a decision that needs to be discussed and shared with the team. What do we want to do? Do we want to build a tool that would allow us to prevent incidents? And yes, it requires some investment in terms of time for building it. Or we consider we don't have enough time to do so. And so we will follow on with the same situation, which is like every time an event or a crisis happens, we would just react to this crisis because we don't have any tool to prevent it. Just that. Where are our priorities? We can, I mean, I'm really not judging saying that. If we consider that we are still in the building phase of a school, maybe it's not the right moment to build a chart because we have other priorities at the moment. So we would follow on with this reactive mode for a couple of more years. Or we think we are mature enough to build something really shared. And in this case, yes, it will take some time. But after, we know we have a powerful tool because we can refer to it at any incident. Every time we have an incident, we know what to do. So this would be time saved. But again, I don't have any recommendation except, do you think you're ready for it or not? Just that. Maybe you could say we are not ready for it, and it's okay. At least you have a direction. You have a perspective. Does it help, Sarah?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. What did she ask? Okay, yeah. Was the nap okay? No, I'm kidding. I mean, we're all exhausted. I could see that. I'm myself also, so don't worry. She just asked, building this chart would be an additional burden to all the work that is being done at school already. Additional task. So I said, yes, it is, for sure. I mean, I cannot tell that it just would happen out of miracle. So you need to work on it. So you need to dedicate hours to work on that. But the key is it's support for what would happen later. Because if you have the way how to communicate with parents, the tools you would build the tools you would use to build this trust, when any incident happens, and this is why we discussed widely about the COVID mindset, after COVID mindset, you would know what to do. Well, if you don't have this brainstorm, this brain juice into one document, every time you just build again and build again and build again from scratch, because you cannot relate it to anything, any tool. So if you're not ready, it's okay. But just know that, I mean, like anything, if you want to build a tool, yes, it requires some time. You're welcome. She's complete. She's the one the most exhausted amongst all of us. Yeah, sure. So yeah, so let's maybe if you have a final question, I'm all open. And if you don't have, you want your ice cream. Yeah. You have a final question? Yes, thank you. How do we? Oh yeah, yeah, sure. It's not so much about being firm, but being consistent. Like you say no, and don't forget the child, the role of the limits. The role of the limits, we're here to build a secure frame for the child. So of course, any child, if not every child, would come back to you after 5 minutes asking for the same thing. So he's testing the consistency. Or you say no, he would go to his dad asking the same question. And it may happen that the dad says yes. And later on, you will have an argument. No, I mean, I'm joking. I'm just saying, yes, limits are just a securing frame for allowing the child to grow. Okay, we've discussed that really long. So the key is not so much to be firm, but to be consistent. So you don't have to be very firm, it's just no. And you can explain. Of course, it's the... Huh?
It's
okay. It's okay.
Take a grab and the student is a child with a student attention was something. And I say, you have to go now.
And then he starts shouting, crying, screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. These are toddlers. They are young. They don't know how to manage their emotions. So the great benefit with toddlers is they cannot focus on a topic for very long. No, it's very, I mean, not very, it's quite easy when they start screaming about something to divert them, to distract them by saying like, oh, did you see the deer on the other side of the road? It's very easy. And then the tantrum suddenly stops. That's it.
Then ignore the emotion?
No, you don't ignore the emotions, but if this emotion is coming out of nowhere, suddenly, you don't know, etc. Okay, so, okay, oh, you feel, the best answer is, oh, do you feel worried about something, etc. So maybe you take him into your arms, and then after like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, oh, look at the deer on the other side of the road. And then you see, because they have this, they cannot focus. So use that.
I cannot know what it does like to walk to grab. Only from the playgrounds is just so every day they carry, but now they are 2.5 and I'm like in my life and everything. So no everything's playing, I say I cannot. So
there are two different things. There is the emotional need, which is I need a hug more than being carried. I need a hug. And then there is, I feel a bit lazy. It's easier, it's my comfort zone. It's a bit easier for me to be in my arms than walking. But now if he's 3.5, you can tell him, I'm more than happy to hug you, but, or just to carry you for, I mean, you can tell him, he's 3.5, okay? So you're here, you can tell him, okay, I'm okay for hugging you and carrying you, but just to the other side of the room. Because more than that, you become so heavy, you're a big boy now, and I cannot, it really hurts on my back. And you are consistent, so you carry him.
Yes.
And you drop him down.
At this moment, we don't like a monkey, right?
Yeah, of course, of course. And then it is where the consistency test happens. Because you need to be very firm at that moment, saying, no, I told you I cannot. I have a backache. But you made a compromise already. See? Yeah.
His behavior and I have to change for example, last time we were not at home. So we had like the vultures and we didn't find scissors and we just like buy them to get them.
Yeah.
And let him explore because it's kind of exploration. We don't say, oh, you want to get it, that you need a scissor from it. So what's the difference between a normal reaction of let them explore?
How old is he? 3.5. What plane of development is it? Adaptation. So it's not about exploration. It's about the proper way to use scissors. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, make sense? Does it? Because this is a very lovely example. The plane of adaptation, so the real need of the child is to understand how to use the environment. So of course it doesn't know. So when it takes some tool, just try to do things. So your role is to explain, okay, so for doing this, you need scissors. And you would, in the Montessori jargon, you would give a presentation. So you know how to give a presentation. You do the work yourself, very slowly, because this brain is not mature, so you need to go very, 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 very slowly. And then you give the scissors to him. You ask for a demonstration. And then if it's more or less okay, you give him the scissors. If it's not okay, you would show again another time. Look, it's this way. Very slowly, very precise. That's it. You're welcome. No more final question? Yeah.
About like the child copying another child for activities. If we observe that that child is capable, for example, of doing that, but their friend is quicker, so they want to be on speed, they just immediately copy, or they would just go and pick them away. Because how would we encourage them? So we don't want to separate them. We want to just
if the child, these are children in the elementary. If a child is like not doing the activity the right way, it's really a question of how do you appreciate that? If it's still good, yes, you can leave them. If it's becoming a complete mess, no, you need to redo a presentation. See, you want to do like your friend, okay, but let me show you how this works, because he's been practicing along for getting to this result. Don't imagine like he tried and it was okay from the very first time. So let me show you. You have 5 minutes? Come with me. I will show you. And then you could work with him. And the demonstration, it's not, when I say come with me, you can stay on the same place. It doesn't have to be far. See? But you just extract him from his rush, because very often at that age, they want to rush about everything. They know. Yeah. I know, that's their favorite phrase. I know. No, you don't know. No, you don't know. When they say, I know, a very lovely way to address that is, yeah, okay, show me.
Wow.
And of course, they are not able to show because they don't know. They pretend they know. So show me is a nice way. See? It's okay. You're the adult. You're smarter. So next time you will say, don't run. Okay? So yeah, show me. And then if he's not able to do so, okay, so let me show you. Because I understand you want to do like your friends. And yes, it's a very nice activity. So let me just show you how to do. And if I would even recommend to do that way. I mean, first show me. So, okay, it's not okay. And then I will show you. I'm supporting you. You see, I've seen out of this little scene, it's back to our principles. I've seen what you want to explore, what your interests into, and I'm supporting that. It's the purpose for a lovely small demonstration. Okay, better? Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much for your patience, for your endurance. Thank you again. I really appreciated our discussions, your many questions, and the depth of our conversation, especially this morning, was really deep, especially when the topic is not easy. So thank you for that. And the final word is really this. I mean, you've heard that many times, but this is just a step in your journey. You will do many mistakes. You will feel doubting so many times. This will happen. I can tell you for sure. If I could bet, I would become a millionaire about that. So don't be afraid. And what we recommend to professionals, but even for parents, it's a useful tool. When you have a doubt about something, when you don't know, one step back, observe. With all that you know, you could reconnect with your intellect, with your knowledge. If you observe things in a proper way, you will find the explanation. You will find what to do. Honestly, I mean, 95%. I wouldn't say 100 because sometimes you don't, but most of the times you will find what to do because you will understand what's at stake, what's happening precisely. Okay, because we're all rushing all the time. So if you take one step back, the goal is to get some time to analyze. But we are rushing out of time, dears. So that's the end of the workshop. Thank you very much for attending and have a safe trip back to KL. Thank you. Huh? Okay, I don't know about all your technical things. So there's a question. Sorry, when will we be getting the link to the video? Okay. Yeah, so Nuzaiba will answer that.
Okay, thank you everybody on Zoom. And we can answer any other questions on the WhatsApp group that we have for this. Thank you so much, everybody.
Ice cream, yeah, I know. Me too.